Welcome to the Elite Life Podcast with your hosts, Trisha and Kylee. Here, we guide you on a journey of personal and professional transformation, revealing the secrets to success. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, join us as we unlock the doors to the elite world of growth, grit, and grace. So, let's dive in.
What up, Elite Life fam? Welcome to another episode. I'm Kylee. With me is Trisha, and we are really, I feel like every time we're excited about today's episode.
We're so excited about today.
This is a good one. Did you write this one? Did I write this one? Who wrote this one?
You wrote this.
I wrote this. I wrote it.
I was very impressed when I seen it. I was like, oh, usually I'm the one that's talking about this. You have been hanging out with me too.
We're literally just morphing into the same person. If you listen to this podcast with your eyes closed, you can't tell who is talking.
But it's more fun to watch on YouTube.
It is. So go subscribe. Okay, now jumping in. Today we're going to talk about something very meaningful, something that can reshape the way that we live, the way that you live your life from day to day and onward. And what we're talking about is legacy, right? And I feel like especially for people who grew up like us, very blue collar, very lower middle class or lower class, like, you know, you don't think about legacy. Because all you're thinking about is, I'm going to go to GM, I'm going to work my job, I'm going to get my pension, I'm going to die in this house, and that's going to be it, right? Yeah. Like, it's I think it's such an important thing to get a hold of. So, like, whether or not you have family, that's the other thing. You don't need a family in order to start thinking about this. Everyone leaves an imprint on the world, right? And the question is, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? Because newsflash, everyone who breathes air will die one day. And you want to make sure that when you do pass away, people have really amazing memories for you that you can continue to make an imprint on the world while you're here and when you're gone.
Yeah, you know, I used to actually keep that as, you know, we always have it like a hashtag bank, and one of them was build an empire and leave a legacy.
Yes.
And I got that from the Cardones, from Elena Cardone. She wrote a book called Build Your Empire, and she said you're always either building an empire or destroying an empire. Oh. And that's one way to think about like what you're doing in life. And like Jesse Itzler, if you go back and you listen to my episode about Running Man, that was a big inspiration to me when I went to go do Running Man and run my ultra marathon, was the speech that he gave the night before. And he was talking about how like he had found this book that his great grandfather had wrote, and he was like, every day that you are living, you are writing a page in your book, and that book that you leave is your legacy. So you need to leave something amazing and great for people to read. Mm-hmm. And this is your chapter. Like, what we are doing today is a chapter that we're writing in our book of life that we're going to leave for somebody else. And that's going to be our legacy. And our legacy, like, it's what we're doing daily, but it's also who we are, mm-hmm. right? Like our identity, which is always changing. Our identity is very fluid.
Yeah, it's not static.
No, it's very fluid. And what we do every day establishes that identity. And the identity that we have imprints on our children, which is going to imprint on their children and their children and mm-hmm. their children. Because who we are is just, you know, the combination and the compound of like the experiences that and the programming that we got, right? Like yeah. We're constantly, and that's why it's like you're building an empire or destroying one. You're also like, you know, deprogramming yourself from that bad programming that you got and reprogramming for greatness, right? And some of us have a little bit more work to do than others, but that's kind of like the way that I think about it and that I kind of came into this episode.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. I didn't even really think about it until we started. Like, Trisha and I have known each other for all of my life. But because they're, you guys grew up in like Garden City, Westland. We grew up in White Lake, Waterford. So like we didn't see each other a lot, and we didn't start hanging out until I reached out to you and I was like, my life is a mess. Everything is chaos. I need some help. And we started life coaching before I jumped into real estate. And it never even occurred to me that I need to, you hear like, oh, you got to do your 401k and your retirement, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't even think about the other pieces of the legacy that I am going to leave. Like when I, like even right now, like what am I doing right now to impact the people and the world around me? Yeah. And is it positive? Is it negative? Like how is it, does it have longevity? And then also too, like what are my plans for like when I do finally go home to Jesus? What do I want people to get up and say at my funeral? You better have some amazing words if I go first. So I want people to really, really, really sit down and think about this. It's very, very important. And especially if you are a person, like Trisha said, like our identities are constantly changing. And I feel like when you have a very clear vision, a very clear picture of what you want to be doing in the world now and when you're gone, it can really help you avoid a lot of floundering, right?
Yeah, and I love that you said, like, how are you impacting the world around you? Because Pastor Stephen Furtick, he wrote this sermon one time that I was listening to, and he's like, yeah, there was this woman at the church, Mary, and like every time I see her, she'd be like, oh, I'm really busy. I'm really busy. And he's like, is that how you want people to remember you? Like, oh, that was Mary. She was very busy. And that hit me. Like I still think about that.
Talking about Martha.
I heard that message like 10 years ago, but that resonated with me, and I literally stopped saying I'm busy. I stopped saying it, and like I'll catch myself because like that's not how I want to be remembered. I don't want to just be remembered as, oh, that's true, she's really busy, and it's important to me. It's really important to me that, like you said, when I reflect on what people are going to say when I pass away, I do want it to be about, the impact I made on the world. I want people to, when they think about me, think about Elite Cares and the things that we give back. And I've said before, like
all the people you've poured into.
Yeah, like when Trent and Angelina have kids someday and I've passed on, I want them to be like, man, our Nana Trish, she was fierce, dude. She did amazing things. She jumped on a plane. She like was fearless, and she did all, like I want my legacy to be amazing, not just average, amazing.
Yeah.
And that starts like, let's talk about like how that starts, because I think number one, you need to be intentional about it, and you really want to like define your core values. Like when you want people to think about you, what do you stand for? Like, what are your non-negotiables? What are your guiding principles? And what is shaping your life and your legacy? Like when you're not in the room, what are people saying?
She's a loud mouth.
I am loud. That's for sure. That's for sure.
I mean, and it doesn't have to, I feel like you don't have to make it overcomplicated. I mean, mine, faith, family, finances, like those are my core values. And, people don't think that finances is a core value. It is important to make sure that, number one, you're able to afford the life that you have and the life that you want, and to make sure that you can and you don't have to have kids. Okay. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't have kids. It's really not just about having kids. Like there are other children and younger generations in the community that you can think about, that you can impact. There's plenty of people out there who don't have kids. Look at Andy Frisella. I mean, he doesn't have kids. I don't know why. It's none of my damn business. But he is impacting other generations, younger generations in such a positive way. That and he needs finances for that, right? And he's very conscious about his finances. So like those are my core values. Those are 3 simple things that I focus on. So whenever I'm doing something or I'm planning something or I'm thinking about something or I want to do something new, I'm like, does this fill my faith, family, or my finances in a positive way, or does it empty it? And so those are things that I like to think about when I think about the legacy that I want to leave. I want people to be like, ooh, she loved Jesus. Yes, she did. She loved Jesus and she loved her family. She was that cousin who was there. You need to move. You need a babysitter. Like, what do you need? If I can do it, I got you. And she was savvy with her money. She was smart. She gave to the church. She gave to the orphanages. She gave to the people. That is what I want people to say about me. And so you need to think about, like, what are your core values? It might not be faith, family, and finances. It might be, you know, if you've had trauma in the past, it might be more self-orientated and then reaching out to other people who have experienced similar trauma, you know?
Yeah, I think a good way to start, like, so you can Google or ChatGPT or AI, give me a list of 50 core values, and then go through and pick like the 10 that resonate with you most, and then narrow that down to 5. And then I want you to take those 5 and take them 2 at a time and be like, if I had to choose between kindness and integrity, which one would I have to have? Like, which one I can't go to sleep if I haven't been kind to someone in the world, or I can't go to sleep unless I feel like I have upheld my integrity to the utmost. And that will help you to really get down to like that 3 core values. So you can start with 100 or with 50, but narrow that down to, like you said, like 3.
3 is a good number.
Or maybe 4.
I like odd numbers.
Yep.
Go with 3 or 5.
3 or 5. But think about that. Like, if there's nothing else in the world that people said, if they could only say 3 words about you, what would you want those to be? And when you start to really do that litmus test of comparing one versus the other, because you may think your core values are one thing, but when you start to do that, they may be different from what you think.
Yeah.
I've actually done this a couple of times, and I would also, you know, I always love to audit. I would do it maybe even once a year or once every 2 years, because they can definitely change.
Yeah.
Especially, like I said, like going through different seasons of life. When your kids are little, family may be your core value, but that may change when your kids get bigger and you need to be able to work more to make more money to provide the things that they need now that they're older. All of a sudden that may change to discipline.
Yeah.
So like family's still obviously very important, but you need discipline first to be able to go to work and budget and make the money you need to make to be able to put them in college or give them a down payment for their house or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why I encourage you, like, think about what those qualities are, examine them and re-examine them, because that should really be what you're living your life by, is your core values, and you should know what they are. And I bet if we had 50 people in a room, maybe only 3 or 2 have actually ever sat down and done this and thought about this. But it is important because those are your guiding principles of your daily life. And if something doesn't feel right, it may be because you're going against one of your core values. Like if your core value is integrity, and integrity is important to you, but yet every night you know, cheat on your diet and eat Oreos, and then you wake up with this like shame repeating in your mind.
I feel personally attacked right now.
It's probably because you're going against one of your core values, which is integrity, and it's not lining up. You have this cognitive dissonance in your brain because you know that how you're living doesn't align with the core values that you hold inside. And that, I feel like, happens a lot.
It does.
Because we as humans, we want to utilize things to, like, you know, numb or disassociate. And so maybe we are drinking wine every night before bed, or we are spending too much time watching Netflix, or we are spending too much time sneaking and eating Oreos, or whatever your thing is. Like, everybody has a thing. You may work too much and don't want to admit it. You may eat too much in the dark corners of your bedroom. Like, everybody has a thing. And sometimes that thing may change too. And it may be violating those core values. And that's why you're feeling out of whack.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about, like, we got kind of off the topic of your legacy, but it does start here. This is where it starts.
It does, because again, circling back, what are people going to say about you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what do people say about you now when you're not in the room? And what are people going to say about you when you're not in the world? Right. And so the second step, and really quickly, I think this is hard because we're not taught how to do this.
Right.
Very, very few parents sit down and explain the importance of, hey, here's what are our core like you have talked about before. Mm-hmm. What are our core family values? What are we going to cling to maintain our family identity? We're not taught that in school. We're taught that in church. We're taught that outside of school. And so a lot of kids who, you know, and people who haven't had that extra, you know, support or learning or whatever it is, it might be a little bit more difficult. But the second step is identifying your unique contribution. So you want to figure out, like, everybody has something special to offer, whether it's your career, your passions, how you make others feel. You have something to bring to the table, and that gift, that special thing, is going to be your unique contribution to the legacy, which is going to imprint positively on the world now and in the future.
Yeah, and it doesn't always have to be something like huge and grandiose either. Like, everybody has something that's unique to them, and that's why, like you said, like, it could be as simple as, like, you're the one that always shows up for others, or you create art that inspires people, or you are a mentor in your community. The world needs what you have.
Yeah.
And that's so important. Like, for me, I had a lot of instability in different phases of my life. So, like, when I say I'm going to do something, everybody knows that's going to get done.
Yeah.
Like, if I said, Kylee, I'm going to be at your house at 3:00, there would be zero doubts that came in your mind that I'm going to be there at 3:00. And, like,
outside of an act of God, you're going to be there at 3:00.
Yeah. And I'll probably still figure it out, even if, like, God does stop me. Because, like, for me, when I say I'm going to do something, like, that is going to be done. If I say I'm going to show up, I'm going to show up, whether I feel sick, whether I don't feel like it, whether I don't want to. Like, I'm gonna do it. So for me, that's a unique contribution that I bring to the table, is people can bank on the fact that if I said I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. It's going to get done. You can take that to the bank. Like, it's getting done. Like, there's no thoughts on the table over if it will or won't. And that's not something grandiose. It's just showing up. But I love that people can know and count on that I'm going to show up. You know?
Absolutely. And the other thing to think about when we're talking about your, you know, unique contribution, think about what you love doing that also benefits others, right? I love sales. Benefits others. I'm going to help you get a house, right?
Yeah.
Or I can bring that to the table for my church because I'm good at marketing, you know, and those are different things that you wouldn't, like, up until recently. I was like, I had to ask myself, how can I translate my sales skills to be serving in my church, to get the word out about Jesus, to grow our children's ministry? And I had to sit down, and the next thing is you need to sit down and create actionable steps. You need to think about how you can take this passion, what you're good at, and where things overlap, right? And usually where that's usually where you're going to find where your contribution is at. Start doing more of that and doing less things that don't serve your higher purpose. So when I had to do it, I fell off for a little bit because of life, but initially, like I was telling, the church people, I'm like, all right, I do Facebook all the time. I can take over some of the Facebook or like the social media for the church and start reaching out to people and putting events on the Facebook calendar. We just did this for Fall Fest. Why can't I do it for Jesus, right? Like we have all of these skills that we've cultivated. We have these gifts we were born with. We have these things that we love doing. How can you use it to benefit other people and contribute to your legacy?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, like you said, you have to plan, right?
Put it on the calendar.
When you're setting your long-term goals that align with the legacy you want to leave, you have to plan it out with intention, because if you're just like, so many people just roll through life. Like they're just rolling through, like they wake up in the morning feeling like P. Diddy.
Nobody feels like you don't want to feel like him right now.
That's true.
Bad reference, Trish.
Bad reference.
Try again.
All right. Anyways, I was gonna start my preaching on my soapbox, but now I'm so thrown off, like it's over.
You don't want to feel like Diddy right now. But it's true. So many people, and that's how I was living. Remember, before we started, coaching with me and all of that, I was waking up. I was getting the kids ready. I was driving to Novi to go to work. I was working my job. That was like the most high stress job I've ever had in my whole flippin' life. I was coming home. I was doing the mom things. Then I was doing the wife things. Then I was passing out. And it was just the same. It was like Groundhog's Day. It was the same thing over and over and over. And I wasn't taking care of myself. And I was not taking care of, my legacy. I had no vision for the future. I was just like, well, we're here. And so many people, you are absolutely right, do live that way. But you have to flip that mindset and be like, hey, I'm a human. I am here. I have power. Is this the way that I want to live? Is this the way that I want to be remembered? Right?
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I love that you said the word power, because I think that what I was getting at is so many people, they just go through their days and they're not happy. If you are not happy, you have the power to make changes. And it's frustrating to me, because I feel like, again, like going back to that bad programming, so many of us are taught to be small and play small. And we just continue to just
accept what you're handed.
Yeah, just accept subpar life. And I feel like I am at this insane like precipice in my life where like I am no longer accepting garbage. I'm not.
Don't be trash.
Anybody. Don't be trash. I'm not accepting of it anymore. Like, if I want to say something, I am freaking saying it. And it may take me a couple days, but it's coming out. Like, I'm not turning my head to stuff that I don't agree with anymore. Like, if I don't agree with this, then I'm going to let you know. And that's how it's going to go. And if I don't like something about my life, I know that like that starts and stops with me. Yeah. I have to make that change. If I'm not happy with the way that my significant other is acting or talking or doing or being, I have to communicate that and say, okay, now the ball's in your court. This is how I feel about this. Make these changes, or I have to make changes. If you don't like how your kid's acting, like you have to be the person that communicates how you are feeling and what changes need to be made. And you have to make changes. If you are not 100% happy with something in your life, that is on you to change it. If you hate your job, get a new freaking job.
Yeah.
If you are completely unhappy in your marriage, either make the compound intentional changes to change that or end it. Like people are like, everybody just continues to be miserable. And then they're like, I'm so miserable.
Life is too short.
Busy. I'm so this, I'm so that. Wah. Then change it.
But you know what? You know what? There are some people out there, and we're on a little bit of a tangent now, but since we're here, some people do like being miserable. And we've talked in past episodes about toxic people around you. You know, if your vision for your legacy is something, you know, you have this vision. If there are people in your life that don't, like Trisha just said, that aren't fitting in or don't want to come along, Kylee Boyle, personally give you permission to tell them to pound sand, let them know that you love them, give them instructions on how they can come along, or let them know that, that's fine. You can go your own way. And I think that might be another big crux of the whole thing is, you have this higher level vision of how you want your life to look and how you want your life to be and the things you want to be doing and the things you want to be experiencing. And I swear to you, there is one, if not more people in your life who are going to poo-poo it, who are going to, like, I have a friend, amazing human. She just started her business. She had some tragedy happen and she was like, you know what? I have to do a life pivot. She did an audit. She took her creative gifts. She turned them into a business. I am so proud of her. She turned them into a business. She is doing podcasts. She's doing marketing. She's doing, community events. She's doing all of these things and, sharing on social media and thing. And she called her mom and she was like, Mom, she was like, hey, did you see my Facebook post? I'm so excited for this event. And her mom was like, yeah, I saw it. There are some people in your life that can even be your mom who are going to poo-poo you, who are not going to be excited for you, who are not going to support you. Yeah. I personally give you permission to let them go.
Yeah, let them.
I'm off the soapbox.
No, for real. Like, I love that phrase, that let them, because it's so true. There are just some people that are defaulted. And there's so many people, like, the other thing is, like, you have to take action. There are so many people that they talk. I'm going to coach. I'm going to say all these things, but they don't do anything. I'm
still feeling personally
They
attacked.
don't actually make the changes in their life. Like, here's a great example. Like, I put a lot on my plate, and every year I look to do something bigger and something bigger and something bigger. And I keep myself away from stagnation, right? And sometimes there are things that I don't want to do, right? But
what?
I know. So like this year, for example, literally, do you remember in January, we were talking about our goals and I was like, my goal is to not run a marathon because they take so much time and they do all of these things.
And then what did you do?
I'm on my third one next week. And it's like, and then I was like talking to Trent.
You need an intervention.
Well, I was talking to Trent and his girlfriend the other night after we went out to dinner. And I was like, man, I'm like thinking about this year. And like, I ran 2 marathons, an ultra marathon. I'm graduating from college. We've added like over 25 people to our team. Like, I've done all these things. Like, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do next year? And we were like walking around and we were talking about elections. And Trent's like, is there a mayor of Clarkston? And somehow we started talking and I was like, maybe I'll just be the mayor. And he's like, do you want to be the mayor? I'm like, no, but like, I need to find something else to do. And it's like, if more, like, it's crazy and it's wild.
Shut up right now.
And I don't need to be the mayor. But the thing is like,
you hear this, producer Dave?
Like, you have to constantly be taking action because, again, like, coming back to what this episode is about is, like, I'm leaving a legacy and I want it to be like that. Like, Trish would just do crazy things. She'd be walking after dinner, all of a sudden decide, like, I'm going to be mayor. Like,
I just started running.
I want to be that person that they were like, she just decided to do something and she went and frickin' did it. That is leaving a legacy. Just deciding to do things and then doing them. Don't just talk about it. Be about it. Go do something.
Do the things. Okay, really quick before we wrap up. Step 5 is share your journey with others. Get on social media. Talk to family. Talk to friends. These people will not only support you and encourage you, they will hold you accountable to the things that you say you're going to do. So anything you want to add to that before we wrap up with our friends here?
We skipped step 4, which was leave your legacy daily.
Yeah, do it. Live it daily.
Yeah.
Figure out what you're doing and do it every day. All right. Thank you so much for joining us on the Elite Life podcast today. I really enjoyed this conversation. I hope that you did too. I hope you got something out of it, even if it's just like one little idea, one little thing, or at least maybe it started the gears in your brain rolling. So make sure you hit that subscribe button before you peace out. We drop fresh content every Thursday, so come back next week for some more Elite Life.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today on the Elite Life Podcast with Trish and Kylee. Don't forget to share this episode with a friend so we can keep delivering you more fantastic insights on grit, grace, and growth. Stay connected with us on Instagram and Facebook. where we'll keep the ideas flowing to help you build a life you love and leave a legacy you can be proud of. Until next time.